When I talk about typographic illustration, I do not talk about those complex things professional designers and illustrators do. I also do not talk about those cheesy special effects that PowerPoint offers to the novice designers. For God's sake, please do not use them. What I talk about, well, this is an example of a very subtle use of the power of typeface. I know this is a very professional work which probably took a lot of time to develop, but I think this is, well, more or less an ideal for us. This is what we should be striving to accomplish. I admire the minimalism of those means of design. Suppose we have a rather simple line of text which we could probably break into two. We can break it into number and 3 words. And what if we can create a focus point out of either words or the number? And I think number works better as a focus point. And I think the end result is actually much more readable because it is much more attractive. People will be compelled to read it because there's something interesting going on. This is the power of contrast. So once again, we do not do this as as a form of decoration. We want to attract attention to improve readability, and we can make it even better and brighter using some simple geometric shapes. And with that little amount of text, readability is not a problem. Another example, you can take a line of text and give it a certain geometric shape, probably rectangular, but maybe a circular as well. And, well, it looks like a slide, actually. This is me presenting with a slide like this. It looks, I should say, rather dramatic. This is a real-life example from Hawaii. And Hawaii is, of course, a very bright and cheerful place, which I don't think should have that bright and that cheerful kind of slides. And in order to make things brighter, people use, well, one thing, they use children's faces, which I think is excessive. But secondly, they use those bright fills, which make things much harder to read. Now, what if instead we can take those numbers and make bullets out of numbers? What if we can create focus points with text? And in the last line, we do not have a number, but we can probably concoct something out of what we have. Maybe we can further improve the composition and make something more complex in terms of those gaps thing. And when I say something more complex, it's actually just 4 words, a circle and a line. It's really, really easy and quick thing to do. It doesn't take all that much time. Let's take a look at another example. This is a rather overcomplicated slide by the US Department of Transportation, actually. And let's try to come to the sort of bare concrete walls in terms of this slide. Let's remove the background, this background. Let's make those lines thinner. Let's remove some of those bright boxes. Actually, let's remove all of these lines and all of these boxes. And okay, we've arrived to a situation where there's nothing else left to delete. I don't know, you might want to delete 90% of this text, but we're not deleting any text here. These are rules. First, let's change the typeface to something nicer because Calibri, yikes. Secondly, let's use a simple grid to arrange things on the page. Secondly, if we remove the grid, we will see that the first column seems very narrow and the rest is probably way too wide. Now, a little trick. The first word in the long column is assistance. What if we can replace this word with something shorter? Like, for example, help. I know, a little trick. And we can probably make the rest of the columns a little narrower so they seem equal. Once again, we trust our eyes and not the ruler. And thirdly, we can start to create focus points with, for example, numbers. Big, bright numbers to guide the eye. And once again, we can use some really simple geometric shapes to improve things. And I think the difference is rather dramatic. Much easier on the eyes, much more professional look, much easier to read. And this, of course, is the noble goal of typography, to optimize the transfer of information. So, it was said that web design is 95% typography, and I think the same applies to slide design. I think if you study typography, if you really understand how it works, it will dramatically improve everything you do in terms of your slides. And this is not about some, wild fantasies. It's mostly about just, keeping things orderly and following some simple rules. And the book for this week will be The Elements of Style by Robert Bringhurst. This is a wonderful book on Amazon UK. It has a solid 5-star rating. This is a great book on typography, which I encourage you to read. Goodbye.